an individual has died. The alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. ICE officers who were hurt are expected to make full recoveries. Can you fill in the blanks, Priscilla?
Yeah, Dana, let's set the scene here. So in Minneapolis right now, the Department of Homeland Security has surged thousands of agents. There are around 2,000 agents that have been deployed to the state of Minnesota, and there have been ongoing operations, especially in Minneapolis. So that is what has been ongoing in that city and in that area. And this morning, the Department of Homeland Security says that they were conducting what they call these targeted operations. That is to say that they went out to a location, they had a target in mind. Over the course of that operation, according to their statement, ICE officers and one of these violent rioters they're calling weaponized their vehicle. This is according to their statement. And they also go on to say attempting to run over our law enforcement officers. And they call this an act of domestic terrorism. And they say that is what prompted an ICE officer, who they said was fearing for their life, to fire these defensive shots. And this alleged perpetrator was hit and is deceased. This is according to the Department of Homeland Security. I have asked the Department of Homeland Security if this was a U.S. citizen because we do not know the status of this individual who was in this vehicle. Now, of course, we have seen in multiple cities that the actions of ICE as they carry out their operations has prompted protesters and rioters at some of these operations. But generally, I will say, Dana, in talking to my sources over the course of the morning, there are a lot of questions here about these defensive shots the Department of Homeland Security is talking about, because generally the policy for ICE officers to use to shoot would be if the subject poses, quote, an imminent threat of serious injury and or death. So there are a lot of questions here as to what prompted that defensive shot outside of the use of the vehicle. And it is these types of questions that would prompt also an internal investigation at the Department of Homeland Security, typically to try to get the answers as to what exactly unfolded here for there to be a fatal incident that includes Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And again, it is Immigration and Customs Enforcement that was involved here, according to DHS. Recall that there are multiple agencies that are on the ground doing these immigration enforcement operations, and even photos of the scene showed, at least after the fact, that it was both ICE on the ground as well as local police department and U.S. Border Patrol, which is similarly been deployed to Minneapolis to continue the operation. So we are still trying to seek more answers here, Dana, but at the outset, what we know is that there was an ICE-involved shooting, that there has been a fatality. We're trying to get what the status of that person was if they were a U.S. citizen, but of course against the backdrop of this massive immigration operation.
Priscilla, thank you so much for that reporting. If you out there are wondering, like I am, what's going on with Whitney Wild in Minneapolis, she is fine. She's talking to some of the people there who are pretty exercised.